Let's make jalapeno cheddar bread. In a large bowl, you're going to add in 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Then you're going to add in half a teaspoon of instant yeast into one side of the bowl and 2 teaspoons of sea salt into the other side of the bowl. You don't want to mix them into the same sides because you don't want them to interact directly. Once you have those 2 sides separated, you're going to stir them each into their half of the bowl, if that makes sense. So stir the instant yeast into the flour, stir the salt into the flour, and then after that, you can stir the whole thing together to combine. You just don't want the salt and the yeast to interact directly with each other. Then you're going to add in 1.5 cups of sharp cheddar cheese that has been shredded or grated, and half a cup of sliced pickled jalapenos. And then you're going to stir those to combine. Next, you're going to add 1.5 cups of room temperature water, and you're going to stir that to form your dough. Once your dough has been formed, you want to cover your bowl with some plastic wrap and leave it in a warm, dry, draft-free place and let it rise for 12 to 18 hours. So the next steps take a little bit of explanation, so while I'm still, prepping my bread to rise, I'm going to go ahead and explain those now. But after your dough has risen for 12 to 18 hours, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 450 degrees. I don't have a Dutch oven, so I'm going to explain to you the directions for how to make this bread without a Dutch oven, but the written directions on our website have Dutch oven instructions in case you have one and want to use it. While your oven is preheating to 450 degrees, you're going to put a piece of parchment paper down onto your counter and dust it with some flour. Then you're going to put some flour on your hands so that you can remove the dough from the bowl and put it onto the parchment paper. Then you are going to shape your dough into a round loaf, and you want to avoid overworking the dough. Then you're going to dust a little bit of flour on top of the dough so that it doesn't stick to the cling wrap or the plastic wrap that you're going to place over it. Then you're going to let your dough rise for 45 minutes. You're going to place a baking sheet into your oven while it's preheating so that it's nice and hot. 5 to 10 minutes before you add the dough to your baking sheet, you're going to put a baking pan into your oven that has been filled with 1.5 to 2 cups of water. This is just how I did it. You're going to put that right underneath the baking sheet that your dough is going to go on. After it's been in there for 5 or 10 minutes, you can add your dough on the parchment paper to your baking sheet and bake for 30 minutes. After your dough has been baking for 30 minutes with that baking pan of water underneath it, you're going to remove the baking pan of water very carefully, wait until the water cools before you decide to pour it out, and you're going to leave the dough in there to bake for another 15 minutes. And here's the dough after I remove my baking pan, and then after 15 minutes, your bread is good to go.